fine. Take your time.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. I'm truly excited because we are diving into a topic that touches every heart: the science behind happiness, how to cultivate joy. In a world full of
That's
stress, pressure, and constant comparison, understanding happiness from scientific perspective is not just interesting; it's essential. Today we have with us wonderful Maya who brings depth, insight, and energy to every discussion. Maya, thank you for joining us.
well, that's nice of you to say. Happy to be here. Though I'm not sure energy is a term that applies to code. Haha. But thanks.
Okay, Maya, it's always a pleasure to have uh, you here. You bring such clarity and positive energy, and I know today's session will inspire so many people. How are you feeling about this topic?
Honestly, I think it's a good one. A lot of stuff gets thrown around about happiness, just think positive, but actually digging into what makes people happy and the science behind it feels
Okay, Maya, let's start.
useful.
Maya, when we talk about happiness scientifically, what exactly do psychologists mean by happiness?
Okay. So, happiness is surprisingly complicated for psychologists. It's not just one thing. Usually, they break it down into two main parts: hedonic well being and eudaimonic well being. Hedonic is what most people think of: feeling pleasure, avoiding pain, generally having a good time. It's about positive emotions. Eudaimonic is a bit deeper. It's about finding meaning and purpose in life, living in accordance with your values, and striving for growth. Most research suggests you need both for true, lasting happiness. Just chasing pleasure gets old pretty fast, but meaning without any joy, that's not great either.
Okay, is happiness something we are born with, or can it be learned and cultivate over time?
That's a big question. There's definitely a genetic component. Studies on twins show that around 40 to 50% of your happiness level is heritable. So some of us are just predisposed to be a little cheerier, but that means 50 to 60% isn't. That's where the learning and cultivation come in. Psychologists have identified a whole bunch of practices: gratitude, mindfulness, kindness, social connection that can demonstrably increase happiness levels. It's like a skill. The more you practice, the better you get at it. It's not always easy, obviously, but it's definitely possible to increase your own happiness regardless of your starting point.
Okay, Maya, research shows that gratitude can literally rewire the brain. Why is gratitude so powerful for lasting happiness?
Right, it's pretty fascinating. So, gratitude isn't just about being polite and saying thank you. When you actively practice gratitude, like keeping a gratitude journal or writing thank you notes, it actually changes your brain. It increases activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, which is associated with decision making and social behavior. But more importantly, it strengthens neural pathways related to dopamine and serotonin, those feel good neurochemicals. That's why gratitude feels so good. And it's not just a temporary boost. Regularly practicing gratitude can rewire your brain to be more optimistic and resilient. Basically, it trains your brain to focus on the good stuff, which makes you more likely to notice and experience it. It's a bit like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay, how does our environment, friends, social media, workplace affect our levels of joy and well being?
Ugh, that's a loaded question, honestly. Our environment has a massive impact. Social comparison is huge, especially with social media. Constantly seeing curated versions of other people's lives can lead to feelings of inadequacy and envy, which obviously tanks happiness. The workplace is similar. A toxic work environment, lack of autonomy, or feeling undervalued can be incredibly draining. Even things like noise levels and exposure to natural light can affect well being. Now, it's not all bad. Social connection is vital for happiness, and social media can facilitate that. But it's about balance and being mindful of how these environments are affecting you. Are you actively building connections or just scrolling and comparing? Is your workplace supportive or a constant source of stress? It's about creating environments that nurture rather than deplete your well being.
Okay, what role do daily habits play? Are these scientifically backed habits that boost happiness constantly?
Huge role. Daily habits are basically the building blocks of your life, and they have a massive cumulative effect on your happiness. There's a ton of research backing this up. Things like regular exercise, getting enough sleep, spending time in nature, practicing mindfulness or meditation. These aren't just like trendy self care tips, they're scientifically proven to boost happiness. Exercise releases endorphins, sleep regulates mood, nature reduces stress hormones, mindfulness increases self awareness and emotional regulation. But it's not just about doing these things. So it's got to be consistent. Doing yoga once a month isn't going to cut it. It's about building these habits into your routine, making them automatic, and importantly, finding habits that work for you. There's no one size fits all solution. What works for one person might not work for another. The key is to experiment and find what makes you feel good.
Okay, Maya, people often confuse pleasure with happiness. What is the difference between short term pleasure and long term joy?
That's a really crucial distinction. Short term pleasure is that immediate gratification, eating a delicious treat, buying something new, getting likes on social media. It's dopamine driven, feels good in the moment, but it's fleeting. It doesn't really contribute to lasting fulfillment. Long term joy, on the other hand, comes from things that align with your values, give you a sense of purpose, and contribute to your growth. It's often tied to things that require effort and perseverance, learning a new skill, building strong relationships, contributing to something bigger than yourself. It's less intense than pleasure, but it's much more sustainable. The problem is, we're often wired to prioritize short term pleasure because it's easier. But consistently chasing pleasure without purpose leads to a kind of emptiness. Long term joy requires a bit more work, but the payoff is much greater. It's about building a life that feels meaningful, not just fun.
Okay, how important is self compassion in cultivating happiness, especially in moments of failure or disappointment?
Hugely important. And often overlooked, self compassion is basically treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend who's going through a hard time. When we fail or experience disappointment, our default mode is often self criticism. We beat ourselves up, dwell on our mistakes, and feel ashamed. That, no worries at all. Happens. I was mid sentence. Where was I? Right. Self compassion. When we fail or experience disappointment, self criticism just makes things worse. It activates the stress response and prevents us from learning and growing. Self compassion, on the other hand, allows us to acknowledge our pain, learn from our mistakes, and move forward with resilience. Research shows that people who practice self compassion are more optimistic, more resilient, and less prone to anxiety and depression. It doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook, it just means approaching yourself with kindness and understanding, especially when you're struggling. It's like giving yourself permission to be human.
Okay, finally, Maya, if you had to give one golden rule for long term happiness, what would it be?
One golden rule. But if I had to pick just one, it would be this: cultivate a sense of connection. Connection to yourself, understanding your values, your needs, your passions. Connection to others, building meaningful relationships, practicing empathy and kindness. And connection to something bigger than yourself, finding purpose in life, contributing to the world. Humans are social creatures. We thrive on connection. When we feel connected, we feel a sense of belonging, purpose, and meaning. And that ultimately is what leads to lasting happiness. It's not about avoiding pain, it's about having people and things to share the journey with.
Okay, Maya, thank you so much for your wisdom and for breaking down the science of happiness so beautifully. Today's discussion reminded us that joy is not an accident, it's a practice, a mindset, and a lifestyle. Dear viewers, remember happiness is not about having a perfect life, it's about finding meaning practicing gratitude, nurturing relationships, and taking care of your mind and body. If you take even one small step daily toward joy, it can transform your entire life. Thank you all for joining. Stay positive, stay kind, and keep choosing joy. Allah Hafiz. Thank you, Maya.
You're very welcome. It was a good conversation, Asfa. I always appreciate your